Welcome back. Earlier this month, we were thrilled to be honored by the Land Trust Alliance, a national land conservation organization that represents over 1,100 land trusts and 5 million members nationwide. We were presented with the National Land Trust Excellence Award in front of 1,700 people at the Alliance's annual meeting in Sacramento. A video about our work was shown as part of the presentation, and we want to share it with you today.
Open Lands has been a leader in Illinois since 1963 when it was founded.
They span the breadth of the Chicago metropolitan area.
They really recognize how pulling communities and partners together, more importantly engaging people, is what really drives our work.
They create these stepping into points where you can find a way to connect with nature in a way that resonates with you personally.
One of the projects that we've really been impressed with is the creation of the Hackmatack National Wildlife Refuge.
This is the first national wildlife refuge for the greater Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, Rockford metro area. Ultimately will be over 20,000 acres.
It's pretty exciting that they can think on that scale and that they can leverage their relationships with people throughout the state, throughout the country, to bring a project like that together.
The only site that Open Lands owns in perpetuity is the Open Lands Lakeshore Preserve.
And they have produced a mile of lakefront that is just fabulous.
Some of the most magnificent vistas. We've incorporated public art.
There are also installations, learning areas, places to sit and relax and observe and enjoy.
Every time I have someone come who's never been to Chicago before, I take them to the Lakeshore Preserve.
It's one of our crowning achievements, and it is part of the web of green in our region, a very important part.
And now they're in just the grit of working in the redesign of public school play yards.
Space to Grow is an amazing program that has incredible ripple effects.
They had never had a garden. They had nothing, just a bare asphalt lot.
This is a place where the children are just enjoying the company of all their friends and just learning about nature.
To see them out there so often and having so much fun, it's been great.
We kind of have a good time doing it, and I think it helps bring the community together.
I want the community to get together. I want it to be a family. And this is actually what it's been turning into.
And our hope is that there'll be a greater appreciation by these kids about the importance of nature.
If we don't engage the next generation, who will be the stewards? Who will care in the future?
The transformation of schoolyards, creating paths, canals, the Chicago River, the Chicago lakefront.
The collective accomplishment they've had for so many years, you just have to admire it.
To really bring all people together behind the idea of connecting to nature and expanding conservation. It's really, really very powerful, and I'm so proud to be a part of it.
Good afternoon. I'm Jerry Edelman, President of Open Lands. Thank you. All of us at Open Lands are so grateful for this wonderful recognition from the Land Trust Alliance. But I have to say that in so many ways, our work is successful because of the people in this room. It's you who make conservation possible and successful in our Chicago Wilderness region. Open Lands, we're blessed with such great volunteers, civic and elected leaders, partners, and critical supporters. And it's really all of you who have earned this impressive award with us. So let's have a round of applause for all of us who are part of this amazing conservation community in our region. I want to give a special thanks to two individuals who nominated us, and that's Lisa Hatterline, who's the Executive Director of the Land Conservancy of McHenry County, and John Centel, president of Lake Forest Open Lands. They are both valued partners and such effective conservation leaders. In so many respects, Open Lands has come to measure success by the number of people we engage, not only the number of acres saved. The magic is that engaging people and conserving acres yields results that are truly enduring and far exceed the sum of the parts. You know, we all know that access to nature enriches people's lives. You know, it inspires them to value, steward, and advocate for the health of our region. And of course, today, with over 80% of the American population living in metropolitan areas, and Chicago, of course, being the third largest, the largest between coasts, this is even more important. And it's really part of the DNA of Open Lands, and that's not surprising that people are central to our core mission and work since we were formed by the Welfare Council of Metropolitan Chicago. You know, we feel a need to connect people to nature where they live and at all scales, from a single tree planted in the front of an apartment house by the residents, to a block club developing a community garden, to our region's first national wildlife refuge bridging Wisconsin and Illinois, where thousands of volunteers are engaged. And in the early 90s, Open Lands spearheaded a very important landscape scale effort to create Medewan, America's first nationally designated tallgrass prairie. Statewide support brought together a remarkable coalition of conservation and outdoor organizations, civic and business leaders, and elected officials from all levels. And one of the great shared visions and aspirations for the site was that someday bison could be reintroduced. Well, just last week, this collective dream came true. Our great congratulations to the U.S. Forest Service and to the National Forest Foundation for their leadership in making this magnificent conservation milestone possible. But even major successes sometimes need to be protected from outside threats, and this has been dramatically true with Medewan. Open Lands continues to oppose the construction of the Ileana Tollway using legal, regional, and local action. If built, it would have devastating impacts on the region's natural resources, most especially the Medewan National Tallgrass Prairie. This year, we have had significant wins with our critical partners, Sierra Club and Medewan Heritage Association, and with our tenacious and masterful legal counsel, the Environmental Law and Policy Center. We are winning the legal battle, but it's not over yet. And while we continue to fight in the courts, we are also advancing with public and private partners a better transportation solution that can resolve how freight, rural communities, and globally significant natural places like Medewan can coexist. So 2015 was really a banner year for Open Lands with so many accomplishments and progress in our program areas. I'd like to highlight just a few. In the area of local food, Open Lands is working with our partner, the Liberty Prairie Foundation, to improve soil and water health through empowering farmers in our region to grow food sustainably. And if we are to succeed in expanding significantly a local food movement, we must find ways to provide better land access for farmers. Connecting conservation benefits with local food production in the Chicagoland Food Shed is a strategic conservation goal for Open Lands. We have also continued our leadership in caring for our region's trees with Tree Keepers, which turns 25 next year and has expanded its reach beyond the city of Chicago. Here in Chicago, in response to the growing crisis caused by the emerald ash borer, and 17% of the parkway trees in the city of Chicago are ash, we have added an aggressive program to plant trees in Chicago neighborhoods. Open Lands is honored to follow the leadership of Morton Arboretum and join many partners in the Chicago Region Tree Initiatives, which is developing a robust plan to enhance the metropolitan forest over the coming decades. We know that a thriving urban forest is a key element in dealing with climate change as it enriches the lives of humans and nature. And as you can see from most of our work, Open Lands always works with partners, both public and private. One of the most important public partnerships, literally since our founding 52 years ago, has been with the Forest Preserves of Cook County. Cap Sowers, the legendary superintendent who served as the head of the agency for 35 years, was a founding member of Open Lands Board. During the past 20 years, Open Lands has restored over 2,500 acres of important natural areas within the forest preserves and throughout Cook County. Today, we are delighted to announce a special centennial birthday present to our valued partner, the Forest Preserves of Cook County. With our partners, the Chicago Department of Aviation, the Chicago District of the Army Corps of Engineers, and very importantly, countless stewards and volunteers, we are committing an additional $3.15 million to restore precious native woodlands and wetlands at Deer Grove West, which is the first site acquired by Cook County at its founding. It's very rare to work with an elected official who is so visionary and effective, and to also bring such a personal passion to her work as Toni Preckwinkle. Toni serves as president of both the Cook County and Forest Preserve boards. She has shown extraordinary leadership and has inspired many of us to embrace a next century vision that includes all residents of Cook County within a thriving open space system of wonderful natural areas. We'd like to share with you a brief video of President Preckwinkle as she reflects on the importance of the forest preserves to Cook County, to the region, to the state, in fact, really the nation. And many thanks to Resolute Consulting for its production.
Of 102 counties in the state, Cook County is the most ecologically diverse. So it's the largest county in population, it's the most densely populated, and it's the most ecologically diverse. We not only have the lakefront, which is a blessing, but a lot of rivers and streams, and we have forest and wetlands and savanna. I mean, it's amazing, the diversity that we have. And a lot of that is in our Forest Preserve District, especially the watersheds for our rivers. Our goal is to increase our acreage from 69,000 to 90,000, to restore 30,000 acres. You know, a lot of our land, both when it came to us and over time, has become degraded, and we want to try to restore it, restore those natural habitats, and to make the forest preserves more accessible to more people in Cook County. A lot of Chicagoans think that if they want to go to camping, they got to go to Wisconsin, or they got to go to Indiana or Michigan, you know, 2 or 3 hours away. And in half an hour, they can be at a campground in the forest preserves, and they're all over our forest preserves. And we have to figure out how we can transfer this asset, this resource, to succeeding generations in better condition than we found it. The forest preserves have sometimes been described as an emerald ring around the city. And although many of our suburban neighborhoods have forest preserves nearby, it's still true that a lot of our city residents don't know about the forest preserves. Even though most places you live, you could get to a forest preserve in 20 or 30 minutes. So our goal is to increase the knowledge that people in Cook County have of the forest preserves and the wonderful resources there, and to increase the number of people who come out and use them on an annual basis. The forest preserves are an amenity that makes our region very attractive. If you have so much acreage, as I said, in forests, in trails, hiking trails, in lakes and rivers, it makes it very, very attractive for people to live in this area and to have that resource.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Kennedy, and thank you very much, Madam President. Good afternoon, and I'm here to introduce Toni Preckwinkle to all of you, but before I do that, I have to introduce the green envelope. And there's a stack of these on everybody's table. I hope you'll take them with you as you leave today and think about Open Lands and the inspiration that comes from being together and doing wonderful things. President Preckwinkle, we come together this afternoon as friends and allies, supporters of you in the past, as well as people who want to be the protectors of your legacy in the future. We do not want that legacy to be found simply in libraries, in memorial articles, or in books and magazines, and stories about all of the reforms that you have ushered into Cook County, all of which you should be proud of. But instead, we want your legacy to be the living, breathing, clean air inhaling life of the future of our county. We want Cook County to be the greenest county in America. We want to assure companies that when they move to Cook County or expand here, they won't be burdened by environmental problems that no one has ever dealt with. Most importantly, they'll find a talent pool of young workers whose imaginations are ignited by the fires of leadership that is constantly pushing them as young professionals to grow and to expand without destroying and polluting. We want to attract and retain these young people who want to live in a world where they can be part of a revolution in which they themselves can bring about change. Perhaps the greatest way to signal that we are such a dynamic community is to demonstrate that the challenges of protecting our environment are being met with creative ideas and new ways of fixing old problems. We come together this afternoon as people who love our county and want our children to be able to live and work here in the future. In many ways, President Preckwinkle has rebranded Cook County, making it easier to attract these young people as well as new companies and established corporations. We want to expand on that continuous improvement and the conservation movement that is critical to the future of our community. President Preckwinkle has shown that she believes that legislation alone cannot last forever. Tony doesn't think that we can simply codify our hopes and dreams. It takes a group of active citizens to become a bulwark against the forces of mediocrity. I know that President Preckwinkle wants us to build that bulwark from among the leadership assembled in the room this afternoon. And from this core group, we will attract others who will stand side by side and shoulder to shoulder with Tony Preckwinkle to make Cook County the most sustainable county in the world. The President's values-oriented leadership in government, where integrity and honesty are the measurements of success, has created the credibility to allow her to invest in the future of the Cook County Forest Preserves. Before Tony, access to open lands and deep woods seemed like a luxury preserved for a privileged few. President Preckwinkle took a political dumping ground which benefited a special few and turned it into a community playground to benefit the entire county. It is my pleasure to represent Open Lands as I address President Preckwinkle and say to her, for your pioneering work to bring the forest preserves of Cook County into the 21st century and making them inviting places for nature and people, for your inspiring leadership in creating the next century conservation plan to guide the forest preserves for the next 25 years, and upon the occasion of the centennial of the Cook County Forest Preserves, it is my great honor to present President Tony Preckwinkle with the 2015 Open Lands Conservation Leadership Award. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you'll join me in welcoming her to the stage. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you and good afternoon. I want to thank Chris for that kind introduction. Let me tell you, when somebody who is as articulate and passionate as Chris introduces you, it's quite a challenge to live up to your introduction. I'm honored to receive this award at the biggest conservation event in the Chicago region. You know, I have to tell you that when I first decided to run for president of the county board, I didn't realize that that would also mean that I would be president of the Forest Preserve District. It's the truth. It's also true that my only encounter annually with the forest preserves was usually the annual picnic that John Stroger had at 159th and Torrance in the picnic groves there. Like many Cook County residents, I had no idea of the natural treasure that surrounds us. But through the hard work of our Forest Preserve staff under the leadership of Superintendent Randall, who's here, and the collaboration of many of you, I can take credit for appointing Arnold, but I can't take credit for his good work. He takes credit for that. I grew up in Minnesota, and I spent a lot of time outdoors. Yet many of the young people in our region have never visited a forest preserve, let alone experienced the wonders of the wilderness. Again, I say, of the 102 counties in the state, we are blessed to live in the most ecologically diverse, also the most dense. The diversity exists within the forest preserves, and it's because a people of vision a century ago understood the value of protecting open space and native habitats. Our rich natural heritage is also protected because of partnerships like the ones we have with Open Lands to restore our natural spaces. Most notable is the restoration of Deer Grove, which is actually the first parcel purchased by the Forest Preserves 100 years ago. Open Lands has been an advocate of Deer Grove, managing nearly $3.5 million in O'Hare mitigation funds to restore this site in collaboration with the Army Corps of Engineers, the Illinois Nature Preserve Commission, and the Deer Grove Natural Area Volunteers. This effort will restore 240 acres of wetlands and surrounding watershed and will begin soon. Open Lands is also a key partner in our Next Century Conservation Plan, which outlines ambitious goals. Restoring 30,000 acres in 25 years, expanding our nearly 70,000 acre footprint to 90,000 acres, enlarging our volunteer base and connecting with new and diverse audiences. I want to thank Open Lands for your support and, of course, for this recognition. I also want to give Superintendent Randall an opportunity to say a few words. Arnold?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. We are in the midst of celebrating our centennial year. We've been doing it for 3 years now, but this is it. And I can't think of a better way to sort of wrap up the year, our centennial year, with this sort of recognition from Open Lands, who's been just a wonderful partner. I don't want to thank Jerry specifically, but all of his staff who we've had a chance to work with over the years that we've been here. When the president appointed me just about 5 years ago, it was clear that there was a lot of work to be done, but it was also clear that there were a lot of people who wanted to see us succeed, and that includes Open Lands and Friends of the Forest Preserves and Audubon and so many other groups that have rolled up their sleeves and been partners with us to help us get on the right track and move this forest preserve system to where it should be. And we've been very fortunate and thankful for those partnerships. I do want to recognize that the president didn't just appoint me, but she appointed me, but she really created an environment where we could be healthy, we could hire quality people, that we could build a team, and a lot of our team is here today. I want to recognize them, certainly. Create an environment where people can work hard, use their creativity, make changes, change culture, which is a really hard thing to do in government, but that's what we've been working to do. So I just want to thank Jerry and Open Lands. I want to thank all of you, because there are so many of you who are partners here with us, and if we haven't partnered with you yet, we want to partner with you in the future for sure. And just thank you for the recognition, and thank you for your support of the Forest Preserve system.